guys.
I was never trying to be your friend. I was in love with you.
I want to fix this.
You can't fix it.
You'd think by now I'd figure out that every time I say killing it, something terrible always happens.
Yo, listen, there's something amazing that's going to happen tomorrow on Freeform. It's the return of Grown-It. Hey! That was a clip you heard from one of the most talented people that we've had a chance to have. Wouldn't you agree, Heather?
Absolutely.
You know, the list goes on and on. She's done more at this tender age than many of us would do in 4 lifetimes. DB, run it down the line, please.
Well, she didn't just start on Grownish or Blackish. Before that, she was doing stuff like, you know, Salt with Angelina Jolie when Angelina breaks in the window and she's doing her homework and she had to help her escape. So, you know, she's been in this game for a while. And, you know, last time she was here with her co-star for The Sun Is Also a Star. And now she's continuing her acting prowess in the rise in Hollywood. And, you know, we always talk about series like The Cosby Show and how influential it was. And then there was a spinoff of A Different World where you got to see the characters evolve and what happened with their lives after the show. And I think that's what Blackish is doing, where you get to follow the lives of the people who you grew up watching. You know, you have Blackish to Grownish, and now there's Mixedish. So you get a little bit of everything, the before story, the middle story, the after story, the whole package. So I think we can give a round of applause for our guest, Yara Shahidi.
Shit.
That was so affirming. That just filled me up.
What does it feel like when you hear some of your own accomplishments?
It's pretty surreal, I think, because my parents have always approached this as acting is something that we do, but not necessarily who we are. And so I think when I look back at all the things we've done, they've just been really fun moments, memories, and experiences. And then it's crazy to hear them string together as a career, apparently.
You have a career, y'all. Yeah. Do you ever, like, because we've been telling plenty of stories of people who take on these really prominent roles and then they can't step out of character when they go home.
Right.
Do you step out of character?
Oh, that's the great thing about being the polar opposite of my character.
Okay.
Is that you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Zoe, I've been her for 6 years. And which is crazy to think about.
It's been 6 years?
We're going on 7 years based on when we met her in Blackish and now with Grownish. But that's the perk of playing somebody where I think I really get the opportunity to step out of who I am, and it makes it even more enjoyable. Although I do have to say I feel like Zoe is my alter ego. Like I take things through the Yara lens and then through the Zoe lens.
Okay. Well, how do the lenses differ, like, between Yara and Zoe?
Well, I feel like, first of all, Yara doesn't find herself in the predicaments that Zoe finds herself in.
Yeah.
And so Zoe, I think oftentimes when anything is happening, she's like, it's basically like somebody will say something to her, and in the words of my papa, she'll be like, you might be right, you're probably wrong, and then does the opposite of whatever's been told to her. Whereas I feel like I'm a little more receptive to constructive feedback as
really?
Yara.
Oh, are you?
I think so.
Yeah?
That's dope.
You don't internalize it and get pissed off when somebody give you
I
constructive?
mean, there are moments of internalizing it, but I think at this point I know who's genuinely there and supporting me as a whole human, and I feel like that makes all the difference.
Okay, I like that. All right.
You know what I realized too? Because you're only 19. Like 10 years ago, you were 9 years old, which is so like wild when I put it into that perspective. But I think about how like there's a lot of young people who are dying to be like on a Forbes 30 under 30 list, like all those lists that really glorify making big impact at young ages. Does that put a different type of pressure on you? And what advice would you give to like a 7-year-old that is grown up surrounded by YouTube and social media and is like, if I don't make it by 15, it's over?
Right. Well, that's why I think my family has always contextualized impact based on how we are of service to other people, because I think that already changes the metric of needing to accomplish something at a young age to just at this moment, given my capabilities, what am I able to do to serve? What am I able to do to be creative? And so that's always taken the pressure off of the theoretical, I'm no longer going to be 20, like when I'm 20, will I make it on the under 20 list?
Right.
You know? What happens when my age becomes less impressive, especially because, you know, at such a young age, that's really what people start with, is the fact that, she's 14, she's 15 and 16 or 17 and doing that. And so will my age be something that they start with when I'm 30? And so you kind of already have to shift what you're doing to make sure that the age isn't the prominent factor of what makes what you're doing impressive.
Yeah, till 20. Yeah, they'll still lead with 30, but it has a different connotation to it. Like, she's 30. You know what I mean? It sounds and feels different, right?
Yes.
I'm noticing your hands and your wrist. You know, you didn't have these things when I don't recall them last time you was here. So let's go through all of these accessories. We had this conversation, and maybe you could join it, because Heather's nephew, who is first-year college student,
18,
18 years of age, has these big, gigantic.
Say
Can
the
I say
word,
it?
yes.
Cubic CZs, cubic zirconiums in his ears. She wants to. And the cubic CZs. She wants to spend the money on diamonds and buy him 2 studs for his ear.
Are you gonna put me in the middle of a predicament
Yeah,
of being the final say and which
Sway's
doesn't
in a-
gets
Pretty much.
diamonds or doesn't get diamonds?
Sway's in a predicament because I told Sway, like, to see him walk, he's a tall kid, student athlete, to see him walk around with these big giant fake earrings, Yara, is killing me, because I know he went to Claire's, and it's like $8.99. So I told Sway, these are under $200 that I saw. They're very small,
Way
but
too
at
much.
least show him, like, look, you can have, they're real, they're nice. Sway thinks he's gonna lose them within a week.
Well, wait, no, this is on me to weigh in?
This is it. This is why you're here today.
Okay. As somebody, I feel like to me, the pieces that I have mean a lot to me, which means these are some of the only things I properly keep track of.
Okay.
And I'm somebody that can lose myself at times. And so I feel like if anything, it is a good exercise to, one, figure out what style and taste is like, and to have that level of discernment.
Whatever. I don't know
Thank
about
you, Yara.
But all my pieces mean a lot to me,
Okay,
because
can you
even
break them
this,
down? What-
I think this one is made by St. Jules, who's an incredible jeweler. But it has my birthstone and then my brother's birthstones in it.
Okay,
And
hold that
stays-
up if you don't mind. That's it. Okay.
But that stays close to me.
Okay.
And I think that's something that really just represents how close I am to my brothers.
Yeah.
And then this one's actually a ring my mama had made in Costa Rica before I was born, and it happens to be me and my brother's birthstone.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, you got to keep
You know,
up
so I
with
think
that.
it's that
What about the
sentimental
different-
value.
What about the pearl right there? What is that?
The pearl is rented.
Okay.
The pearl goes back to the pearl company.
The pearl company. Okay.
Smart.
and then
when we're done here.
the wrist accessory is just something style
Yes.
points.
This is the evil eye. I believe. Chasham Nazar, how you say it in Farsi, but the eye of protection.
The eye of protection. We talked about that. Chitori.
Oh, Huban, merci, yes.
Yes. We'll get deeper. All right, Yara Shahidi is here. Grownish premiering tomorrow on Freeform. Since we have her here, and I watched Grownish so I could get kind of some perspective on how to communicate with my daughter.
Right.
Because a lot of things that was happening to Zoe will be happening, well, not, to those extremes, but they're at the same stage of their lives. So I thought since you was here, we came up with this idea, right?
Right. We thought that you could help parents who are confused, perplexed about their grownish kids understand them.
Okay, let's try it.
Okay, so parents.
It'll be an experiment, a social experiment.
Call up, parents. We never done this before, but call up 888-742-3345. What you don't understand about your kid, maybe Yara can give you some perspective. Sway in the morning.
To my Adidas fam, this is kind of epic.
Now, I know that sounds crazy to y'all, but Yara was showing off.
Oh, yes, she was.
Yes, Yara Shahidi is here. We talking about Grownish premiering tomorrow, season 3. Congratulations, season 3
that's
on
good.
Freeform TV. Absolutely. And Beyonce just randomly sent you things?
Yeah, royal rack.
It was a total surprise.
Really?
Because they said something's being dropped off, but then a truck pulls up, and then there are 2 movers basically trying to fit this through our door. But it was absolutely incredible, and the amount of thought and detail that went into everything from the packaging, which is actually all reusable and all of that, to every single piece from you have gowns in there to tracksuits.
It's incredible, right? I was backstage with Beyonce. We were in Seattle for the last day of the tour, and I was speaking to some people that I work with. I normally don't do this, but they say that she, even after the show, everything from the merch on down, she's hands on because she wants to give the Beehive or whoever her fans are the best experience they can. So they pay meticulous attention to the detail. And so you bringing that up sounds so consistent to me.
No, you could absolutely tell. And then when you look through the lookbook, it's all the people that she's been collaborating with for years. And I mean, even starting with like she has an Adidas grill. Which is super cool. But I love that attention to detail, and you're exactly right. Like, you feel like this is exactly from her.
Yeah, like I've never received anything from her, so I don't know what that feeling is like. You know what I mean? Other than great music.
Right, entertainment.
I'm grateful.
Okay, and I'm grateful. Yeah, Yara Shahidi is here. You know her from Grown as Parents. This is your chance. If you don't understand your kid, maybe she could offer you some advice.
Yes, decode.
Some perspective. Anything your your kid is doing that drives you crazy. 888-742-3345. Call us.
Parents just don't understand. Parents just don't understand. Parents just don't understand.
All right, now we got Eric on the line from L.A. Good morning, Eric. How you doing?
Eric.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Sway.
Hey, what up, E?
Yara.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how old are your kids?
Hey, shout out to your parents because they raised a really good daughter with a good head on her shoulders.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know,
Okay.
not easy out there.
All right. You sound like a parent.
Right.
So
Yeah, definitely.
So how old are your kids, Eric?
I got a good spread. You know, like one's kind of grown up, just finished college, and I got like a middle schooler and a kindergartner.
Okay. So shoot, what's your question? Maybe she can help you out with something your kids do.
Well, here's the thing. Like, with the technology today, they're always on a screen, always on a phone, not connecting with their fellow young people and us in general, falling asleep with these devices in their hands. And, how are you dealing with that with your peers and your older generation?
Yeah, well, full disclosure, this is non-professional advice.
Okay.
But I do have to say, as somebody that can totally be on tech overload and has 6 blogs and an Instagram and all of that, I totally understand. But the one thing my parents have done that I really appreciated is show us all the things that we can use technology for that actively contribute to our learning without it even feeling like learning. So something we do is we love the podcast app. I think it's the most used app on my phone. And there's so many stories on there, especially from young storytellers. And it's a great way to engage with the world without feeling like I'm listening to the news right now. And everyone from me to my middle brother to my youngest brother. My youngest brother actually was the one who introduced me to all the economic podcasts I listen to. He's 11. But that has been great. Or even like on Instagram, my little brother does book reviews of all the books he's reading, all the things that interest him. And so it's that balance of like, yes, we're on there playing games. Yes, we're talking to our friends, but finding that balance of like, what can I be doing when I am on my phone, where I'm subconsciously just kind of expanding my world.
That's good advice. I like that. And then, Eric, the other thing is some of those podcasts that you may be interested in, y'all can listen to together.
Exactly. Have listening sessions.
And engage it. Look at Eric. His voice changed. He got serious. like he taking that advice seriously. All right. Yeah, I like that. I wrote that down. Eric, you a citizen, man.
Sway in the morning.
All right. Let's go to... This is Axe Yara. This is Mark. Mark, go ahead.
Hey, Mark.
Hi. I make music, I guess.
Okay, so what's your question?
Mark.
How do I get somebody to listen to it?
You're gonna stop playing.
Okay, that's for Yara, Mark. Okay, great. You know what? You put it out, release it, put it on those platforms, and hopefully people gravitate towards it. And use your social media. Thank you. Carolyn in New Orleans. What up, Carolyn? Mark used Mark used her to get in.
I know. Mark was on something different at first. I was scared by the.
I'm not mad at the strategy.
No, I'm not either.
Okay.
Yeah,
I am.
Yara. Hey, Yara. This is Harlan.
Hello.
First of all, I'm so proud of you. I love you in Chanel. I love you on every platform that you step foot in. You are a true role model to my nieces, as well as, of course, my son that 20 loves looking at you as well. And I just got them in too, the grownish looking at it because everybody's so busy, but now they look at it, they tell their friends to look at it. They've even gotten involved with Blackish and Mixed This, so his whole repertoire of shows that exposes you all is wonderful, let me say that. So my question is, will you be out going to any of the college campuses with the 18 by 18 with this important voting cycle, one? And two, what's your thought if Instagram removes the like button? Because I see your brother and you are all listening for content. Not worried about content. So.
Well, thank you for your question. Starting with the 18 by 18 one, my voter platform, we're about to roll out just kind of our plan for the year, and I'm really excited because you're absolutely right. Our goal is to engage as many young people as possible, and so the one thing that I can say is like the one thing that we're doing throughout the year are 20 conversations in 2020.
Oh. Okay.
In order to, and across the nation, just in order to engage our community and get out of the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest even. I'm a Minnesotan myself. Okay. And be in conversation with, I think, so many of my peers who are already interested, but it's a matter of access and being in conversation with people. And so that's definitely one of our goals, to figure out how to reach out to people who are already interested or maybe don't know where to start on college campuses and be of support, and also to step out of the academic setting to make sure that we're not referring to people who may already have access to certain materials and intentionally go to places where it's already underserved in terms of information about voting and access. And then in terms of the Instagram like button, I mean, I don't know. I'm genuinely conflicted on that one, in that I know so many creatives and creators that depend on that for their art. And I know it's been a big conversation just in terms of, like, you need your likes, especially when you're dealing with sponsorships and such. And so the reality of it is so many young creatives get their start and their access by these Instagram exchanges. And so I don't know how getting rid of the like button would affect that. But I mean, idealistically, yes. I would love to say, like, no doubt, I would love to just have it gone and never think about it again. But it's something to consider.
Something to consider. Carolyn, thank you. That was a great question, Carolyn.
Thank you.
All right, you're a
Can
citizen.
I be a citizen?
Okay. Carolyn, you are officially a citizen.
Hey!
Whoa.
I like that. I put the like button on that.
That works for me. All right, have a great day. Mike Muse, you want to follow up real quick?
Yeah, Yara. One, I'm a huge fan of yours from a student activist perspective and a young activist.
Thank you.
And what I've always been curious about, and I'm so glad I had the conversation to ask you, is you talk about political scene, but I'm curious about student leadership. You know, coming up in my era, student leadership was really big to me, but for us, it was very localized, right? It was all about city, maybe state, kind of national, but not really. What informed you as you were coming up in your teenage years, and you still are a teenager, but in your young teenage years, to say that I could propel bigger, right? I could influence larger, right? What was informing that in that constitution of yours?
Well, I think it's really because of social media, because of being born into a world in which I already have a global community I have access to. It was more so that natural step of I'm somebody who's Black and Iranian and proud of both of my heritages. So my family already spans across the world, but my family's also been intentional about saying you're a part of a global community and you have a responsibility to that community. And I think because we have the platforms on social media to be in active conversation with people regardless of location, that's really what has inspired me. But you're absolutely right. I was actually just talking to Jaden Smith about like student leadership and leadership in general. And the one thing that we were talking about is when you look at all of these great movements, the one thing that is undoubtedly so impressive amongst so many things is that they are such a strong community. Like James Baldwin is one of my personal inspirations. And when you hear him talking about being in a room with Sidney Poitier, when you hear him talking about his exchanges with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, you can tell that there's an actual sense of kinship there. And I think that's the one thing that we have to be really intentional about building, because our community has gotten bigger, but how do we make sure that it feels real and those connections and bonds feel real?
I love it, man. We might have to just let you sit up and talk for 4 hours. All right, Yara Shahidi, thank you for coming by. Merci.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kahish mikonam.
Okay, I won't go that far. All right. I almost did. We could drink some dew later by the pool or something, all right? make sure you guys tomorrow on Freeform, make sure you watch it. Grownish, okay? Season 3 and hopefully about 30 more seasons.
Yes,
you know,
hard for you, girl.
over the hillish. They'll call it something different. But thank you for coming by. Okay.
Thank you.